efforts worldwide.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. It's time to say goodbye, I am afraid. This is the last launch of the first rocket that I actually got to see fully with my own eyeballs take off and lift off. And it's this orange guy back here. One of the most iconic rockets for many, many, many reasons. To learn more about it, let's do what we always do, my friends, which is something that, again, a lot of people in chat should be doing. You should be reading our article if you want to have many of your questions answered. And no, for the record, it did move, the T0 time moved around a little bit, but it is not scrubbed. We reserve the word scrubbed, meaning like no launch attempts are available in the window for today. So if it's scrubbed, that would mean like it would go for the next window. They still have a window opportunity, and they are still targeting T-minus 38 minutes. Did that move again already? Last I knew it was 45 on the dot. So let's double check here. Hang on, before we even get any further, let's make sure if ULA updated. It still says 2:45. So Mary Liz, let's make sure that clock is reflecting that, because that looks to be more like, oh, that's showing plus. We'll get that fixed. Give us 1 second. So yeah, we're only about T-minus 25 minutes from liftoff. Anyway, let's see here. So if you want to know anything about this rocket launch, just go to everydayastronaut.com/pre-launch preview. And this is our article on NROL 70. So the liftoff time for this is actually now 2:45 Eastern, which would be, oh my God, so 14 plus 4, 18:45 UTC. The mission name for this is NROL 70. It's a mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. That's why it's NROL, means National Reconnaissance Office, and then L is launch. So National Reconnaissance Launch. The launch provider for this is United Launch Alliance, or ULA. The customer paying for this, again, is the NRO. The rocket is the Delta IV Heavy, the last Delta IV Heavy, the last Delta rocket, period. Because we've already retired the Delta II. Delta III got retired almost immediately. And Delta IV Medium already was retired, and Delta IV Heavy, this is the last one. We had the last, some people were confused, like, well, I thought we already had the last Delta IV Heavy. We had the last Delta IV Heavy on the West Coast, but that was not the ultimate last Delta IV Heavy. This is the last time this rocket will fly. So the launch location is Slick 37 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but there has been procurement that SpaceX is actually looking at purchasing this potentially as a Starship pad, but that's being studied right now by the EIS, and I don't think it'll even be known until like end of 2025 whether or not they could use it, whether or not they could take that over. Payload mass is unknown. Where it's going is unknown because it's a classified mission. Will they be attempting to recover the first stages? Nope, not a capability of this rocket or of ULA currently. Where will the first stages crash? They'll crash into the Atlantic Ocean like most expendable rockets. Will they be attempting to recover the fairings? Nope, that is not a thing that ULA does. So they are brand new fairings. The weather is, last I saw, actually not looking fantastic. There was a little bit of talk of 70% weather violation. However, there were problems. I don't know. It seems to have cleared up. They moved the T clock around, and I think we're looking better than a 70% chance of violation. I think we're better than that, but I don't have a current. This will be the second ULA launch of the year. The first one was the Vulcan launch, which went fantastically. This is the 160th ULA mission ever, the 16th and last mission, of course, of this Delta IV Heavy, the first mission of Delta IV Heavy this year, and the 61st total orbital launch of the year altogether, which is nuts. We're not even through March yet, and we're already at 60, so take that times 4. We're looking at well over 240, maybe 250 launches this year if all things continue to go at this rate, which is nuts. 250, I mean, previously I remember when we were repeating the record and it was like, 160 or 70 or something. But here's where we can kind of see for the liftoff. So the one thing that's going to be really interesting, remember, is that it actually sits on the pad for a bit, letting the engines run for like 5 seconds. And you'll see the huge fireball at ignition, and that's part of the ignition sequence. You'll see a huge fireball when this thing ignites its engines at first, and that's super exciting. It doesn't mean it's wrong. So you might panic a little bit when you see flames going up the side of the rocket. It does not. This is the only rocket that lights itself on fire intentionally, or at least to plan, and it's okay. As part of the burn off from the spin start, they want to burn off all that excess hydrogen that's emitted during the spin start. We talk about that a little bit on how to start a rocket engine, I think. We talk about that in the ROFIs, the radial outward firing igniters that are only igniting the burnt off hydrogen, the excess hydrogen. They're not igniting the actual combustion chamber. So yeah, this shows kind of a few more of the things about this rocket. If you want to learn more about this beautiful rocket, we've got, again, a decent amount of thing. One thing to remember is it looks huge, and it is huge, but it's actually very light. Like, this rocket is, because it's hydrogen, it has massive tanks. It's not very dense. And so although it looks massive, it's actually not that heavy. I want to say thanks to Claire for writing this article. We're actually just in time for the go, no-go pool, I believe. So notice that their clock has...
minus 21 minutes.
Field 2, perform second stage LH2 fill and drain valve cycle test.
Roger.
LOX 2, perform second stage LOX fill and drain valve cycle test.
Roger.
She's a cold, cold rocket filled with liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen.
Since 1960, Delta rockets have been an integral part of America's space program. The on-orbit assets it has launched have improved life across the globe. Let's take a look.
I'll do another video that we can already see. Oh, this is actually an awesome video. I did see this. This is the history of the Delta rocket. Lots of history there, but we want to be able to answer some questions here. Let's see. This is from Merrick. We were talking about this a second ago. I'll go into it a little bit deeper. So why does the Delta IV light itself on fire? Does this benefit anything, or does this happen for no apparent reason? Of course, everything in spaceflight happens for a reason, or at least there's a cause, a known cause, and that's during spin start, they start flowing hydrogen through the pumps in order to get it spinning. And the important thing here is this is a open cycle hydrolox engine. So those gas generators that are spinning the LOX pump and the hydrogen pump are literally just dumping mostly unburnt hydrogen out as it's spinning up. So it's starting to get spooled up. They're flowing you getting the fuel, the pumps running. And as they do that, they are expelling already just excess hydrogen basically out of the engines, out of the exhaust nozzles of the turbines. And then during spin start, they also flow hydrogen first too through the combustion chamber. So there's hydrogen flowing everywhere, and they don't want it to build up in a cloud and potentially detonate. So instead, what they're doing is before that even starts flowing, you'll see them basically ignite these gigantic sparklers. Those sparklers are there so that as hydrogen starts being just in the area, taking up space, they basically make sure that it's all igniting right away before that mixture gets before it gets too dense or to avoid any kind of, major eruption event. So the rocket basically lights itself on fire. You'll see all that excess hydrogen burning off as it's spooling up. And that's totally normal. It's relatively low temperature fire. It's not high energy. It looks crazy. It looks exciting. It is exciting, but it's not as wild as you might think. You might be like, oh my, it's spectacular. We'll put it that way. But that's why it's all part of the spin startup of the RS-68. And the RS-68 is an open site. It's basically like they tried to make a replacement for the RS, because the RS-25 was actually looked at, but it was too expensive. And since this is an expendable rocket, they didn't want to throw away the RS-25. So they almost looked at how can we build a similar engine to the RS-25 but make it expendable? And this is what they came up with, was the RS-68. It has some unique things, like it has an ablatively cooled combustion chamber, which that's one of the reasons you'll notice that the exhaust on it is orange, like bright orange. But it's hydrolox. And hydrolox, if you see like the Space Shuttle main engines or SLS's main engines or any other hydrogen engine, it actually burns extremely clear. Like you can literally see through the flame. It's so clear. So why is this exhaust bright orange? It's because of that ablative nozzle. The nozzle is primarily carbon. So it's a carbon. It's basically like really dense carbon, and as it burns, it starts flaking away a little bit of that carbon, and that will afterburn through the reaction and ends up being this bright, bright, bright orange, which is super interesting that, you know, you have this clean burning rocket, yet it looks, it's a fairly bright flame considering it's hydrogen, which is just kind of a fun little thing. Let's see here. We have, Slithery, 51 months of membership, pointy end up. I absolutely love the woof. I thank you. Yes, thank you so much for your ongoing membership. I did confirm, but I did want to point out that I am also wearing this baddie, our new pointy end up, flamey end down shirt, which I wore in honor of today because this is the ultimate in pointy end up, flamey end down. There's 3 points, there's 3 flames, and it's all flames. Pointy end up, flamey end everywhere. So despite the fact that I'm wearing the rocket orientation shirt, there's actually a lot more to it. But yeah, I do love this rocket just because it is so unique in the way it launches, and it's just iconic. It's sadly the end of an era. But we do have, by the way, 15% off of this shirt if you use coupon code LaunchDay, all lowercase, all one word, LaunchDay at everydayastronaut.com/shop. And don't forget to check out our RUDS section, our rapid unscheduled discount section, to take 15% off as well. So that's just right here, everydayastronaut.com. You will see our new pointy end up, flaming end down shirt, 15% off today, off either the long sleeve or short sleeve by using coupon code LaunchDay, all one word, all lowercase. And we're almost out. We're selling out of a lot of stuff here. So get the remainders of these iconic shirts before they sell out. everydayastronaut.com/shop. Get in there while before it's gone, because it's happening. All right, enough of that. Let's get to another question here while we... This is a really good question. If these engines are meant to be expendable, then why don't they use them on the SLS? Fantastic question. And I think I actually know the answer to this. I believe, this is reaching back into my brain. I haven't thought about this for a long time, but if I remember right, they were concerned that the solid rocket boosters on SLS are so hot and powerful that they could destroy the ablative nozzles compared to a regeneratively cooled nozzle like on the RS-25 has, cryogenic fuel flowing through the walls of the nozzle and can handle heat loads from both sides. It can handle the high temperature inside and the high temperature outside. I think there's concerns that the ablative nozzle, it could potentially get chewed away by all that heat on the outside and destroy the nozzle. I believe, or at least it wasn't rated and it had a lot of other considerations. But it's also less efficient. It is a little bit less efficient since it's open cycle compared to the RS-25. So I think to really hit all their goals, the RS-25 was looked at, and they also had physical RS-25s on hand from the shuttles. So there was, it's almost like we have all these engines, they're free. Why aren't we using that? And yes, and Launch Recap in our Discord does ask, is the upper stage also hydrogen? Yes, it's the Delta Cryogenic upper stage using an RL-10B2. Ooh.
140. Roger.
Anytime we hear comms, I bring it on air because I love
VSE, verified base bending moment. Instrumentation is active and data is valid.
BBM is fully mission capable. Recommend placard 6 Alpha for launch.
Roger. OS, set BBM active.
Roger.
Okay, we might not get much more than that right now. I do love hearing that mission control
With this launch, we are also remembering an NRO teammate. Here is Mission Director Colonel Eric Zaribaninski.
This is cool. I always like to watch this, though. When they honor imagine having a rocket, flown in your honor. I think that's really, really cool. And maybe we'll hear from them. Maybe we won't. Again, people are asking in chat, I'm seeing it still, that I thought these were retired.
NROL 70 launch is dedicated to the memory of Colonel Edward Chip Zakrzewski. Chip dedicated his career to the advancement of space launch and to the success of NRO missions. He was a fierce advocate and leader for the Office of Space Launch and in the broader space launch community. Chip was the OSL director for the first Delta IV Heavy launch, so it is only fitting that the last Delta IV Heavy launch is dedicated to him. To our leader, mentor, and friend, Godspeed, Chip. MD out.
That's pretty cool. To Chip, everybody. So, yeah, so people are asking, I thought this was already retired. No, it was confusing because there was the last mission from Vandenberg.
Initiate retract data logger just prior to the L7 pole.
Roger.
After liftoff, the Delta IV Heavy will head east from Space Launch Complex 37. Here's a look at today's ascent.
All right, so we got copyright music. We'll let it, we'll keep it in the background while we keep answering a few more questions. This is a great point here from a Noble team leader. Everyday Astronaut, you mind telling everyone that if they want to know more of the history of Delta, Scott Manley has a very good documentary on it. Amen. Always recommend Scott Manley. And by the way, here you can see the rocket lighting itself on fire. That's what we'll see today. Yes, I love that. But yes, highly recommend Scott Manley always for everything. You know, I take anything he says, I definitely take very to heart because he is just so knowledgeable. His speculations are always spot on. The guy is a wizard, and he's fantastic. So yeah, if you haven't watched, if you do want to know more, Scott has a fantastic history on Delta. It's very, very, very good. Let's see. Good question here from Mr. Schmay. Given the prevalence of methalox or methane in newer rockets, what do you think is the future of hydrogen rockets? So this is a very unique rocket, being that it's entirely hydrolox. Upper stage, core stages, boosters, everything is hydrolox. It's very unusual. It is very efficient. You know, it has a potential to do a lot of Delta V, and in particular, like a mission like this, we don't exactly know where it's going, but it's likely ULA touts that this is the only rocket that could fly this particular mission because it can really get to some of those deep, you know, like if you want to go direct to geostationary with a large payload, this is currently likely the only rocket that can do that. Vulcan will be filling those shoes in the future. Vulcan also is capable of doing some of these extremely unique, you know, large payloads, heavy mass going direct to geo. It takes a lot of energy and the Delta cryogenic second stage is even bigger than the Centaur upper stage on the Atlas. And I believe Vulcan's upper stage is even bigger than this, or around the same size. It's very, very similar. But there's a lot of energy there that they capitalize on with hydrogen. So hydrogen is fantastic for an upper stage like that. Let's see here. I'm listening to what they're saying. Oh, cool. They're on site there on the Causeway. That's an awesome place to watch a launch from. I have seen a launch from that pad from the Causeway, and it's very, very fun. Okay, so what was I going to say? So hydrogen, though, it makes a ton of sense on the upper stage and in space. However, it does have the tendency to boil off. So you have, not only do you have a huge tank you have to consider because hydrogen's so undense, it's, you know, 6 times less dense than, more than 6 times less dense than kerosene. And if I remember right, sorry, it's been a while since I've thought about that exactly. But yeah, it's so undense that it has huge tankage. So now you're lugging around larger tanks, so it takes into your dry mass. But you're also having to deal with the problems of boil off and those considerations of boil off, even more with hydrogen than you would with methane. So it still makes sense on upper stages a lot, and you know we're still seeing companies use it. Not only ULA with Vulcan, but also we're seeing hydrogen used. You know, Stoke is looking to use it for their upper stage. You know, we have Blue Origin using it on New Glenn. It still makes sense, and it's still extremely potent and powerful. But however, it has this everything in spaceflight's a compromise. Hydrogen is definitely one of those. Let's see here. From Aaron M. Just got your Falcon 9 model. Are there any plans to add more 1/100 scale models to your shop? Would love to build my own equal scale rocket garden. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I showed this off last stream, but I can't show it off enough because I'm really, really, really excited for these. And we're going to keep the rocket on screen here. We're coming up on readiness poll here, which we will definitely tune into because that's like one of the best things about these rockets. But this is our next set, is actually the Mercury Atlas Mercury Redstone set. So compared to scale, here's a Dragon capsule. To scale, here's a booster of a Falcon 9. How crazy is that? All right, here's go, no go. We don't want to miss it. But that's going to be our next one. And listening in here. Nothing's happening yet, but don't want to miss it.
How many 7 minutes? Status check to proceed with terminal count. First stage systems, propulsion. Go. Hydraulics.
Go.
Locks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Second stage system, blocks.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
COM.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Operation support.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
HAZGAS.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Radar monitor.
Go.
Mechanical engineering. Go. Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
UA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range coordinator.
Clear to proceed.
Launch
That's a good
director.
one.
Launch vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC. Verify T0 is set for 18:45:000.
Verified.
MEQ. Establish swing on lock pins. Pull.
Active.
Polling is complete and the team is go for launch. From T-minus 4 minutes until liftoff, you'll hear Scott Barney and the team performing the final steps in the countdown procedure. Several critical activities occur in the final minutes before launch, including verifying fuel tank levels and pressures in the 3 boosters and the DCSS, in addition to arming the flight termination system. At T-minus 1 minute, the Range Operations Commander confirms the range is in a green condition for launch. At T-minus 15 seconds, the launch table HBOs at the base of the rocket are ignited to burn off excess hydrogen. At T-minus 7 seconds, the starboard engine is ignited. At T-minus 5 seconds, the port and center engines are ignited. Once the Delta IV Heavy lifts off, you'll hear flight commentator Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data.
Cool. It's all looking good. So notice that our clock is counting down and the 2 clocks should synchronize here pretty darn close. Ours might be a touch ahead because of the delay in the live stream. But I'm guessing ours will be about 7 to 12 seconds ahead of ULA's. So our clock, we might try to synchronize it. We might have to add about 12 seconds, but we'll find out here very shortly. But ours, we always do the actual, I guess they call it L minus, T minus, so it's basically the terminal count. But it's very confusing. But this is an intentional hold. But here we go. We're getting ready. Man,
In just a few moments.
we're 20 seconds ahead right now. We might have to add 25 seconds, 26 seconds,
T-minus 4
27.
minutes and count.
There we go. We're 27 seconds ahead. So go ahead and add 20 seconds,
This is
27
flight
seconds,
control
Mary Liz, and our
and
clock should be
CCLS.
fairly synchronized.
Line fault at
Oh.
T-minus 3 minutes and 58 seconds.
LC switch not ready. All personnel go to recycle steps for Operation 90.
Did they say they had a
Okay, LC switch is not ready.
fault?
Flight control is ready to set clock to T-minus 4 and holding.
Roger. ALC reset countdown clock to T-minus 4 minutes and holding.
Roger.
LC flight control, SS BAP inactive, and SCS in pre-flight mode.
Roger. And properly evaluate LOX recycle and report if ready to recycle.
4800. Roger. Red line that we've...
OSM, place the SRM ignition switch to disable position.
SRM ignition disabled.
ALC, count. Disregard.
LC countdown clock has been reset to T-minus 4 and holding.
Roger. For step 90, all stations recycle systems back T-minus 4 holding in configuration. Recycle occurred at T-minus 3 minutes 58 seconds. Report status at completion.
LC fuel 1.
Go fuel 1.
Substep golf.
CBC LH2 inerting is active. Excuse me, LH2 conditioning is active.
Roger.
LC FTS.
Go.
Substat Juliet, FTS safe and external.
Roger.
LC locks 2.
Go.
Second stage LO2 conditioning active.
Roger.
LC locks 1.
Go.
CBC locks conditioning active.
Roger.
LC ECS.
Go.
ECS set point stable.
Roger.
LC field 2.
Go.
Second stage LH2 conditioning active.
Roger.
LC SYS.
Go.
GC3 ready.
Roger.
So I don't want to interrupt them too much, but basically they're recycling. They had some kind of fault right as it got into terminal count. They're recycling this, and we'll see if there's an attempt today still. They might be slipping outside of their launch window. But just...
LC AV.
Go.
Don't know yet.
Per substat Papa. Vehicle external.
Roger.
LC Prep 101.
Go.
All systems are stable.
Roger.
LC flight control.
Go flight control.
Step 180, sub-step kilo, flight control ready.
Roger.
LC MEQ.
Go.
Substep Oscar. TSM and swing arm systems ready.
Roger.
And substep alpha, pneumatic pressures stable.
Roger.
All right. So they have until, what was it? Yeah, 5:39 Eastern, 2:45 Eastern. They have a couple hours to figure this out still, I believe. Let me double check here. Let's see if we can find the time. By the way, I'm still listening.
Joy. Go. Hydraulic system stable. Roger.
This is Delta Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. The planned hold has been extended. We will pass on more information as it becomes available.
I'm trying to...
Detanking.
Detanking. Pretty sure I just heard detanking.
And LD, just to confirm, we're in a scrub declaration for 24-hour turnaround.
There we go. Scrub for 24-hour turnaround.
Roger.
We'll wait for total final confirmation on that.
LC. G. Verify TISR status per India.
All right, so it's not the final launch today, my friends. It'll be another day. Actually, it's funny because I was talking a lot about this rocket in today's Spacewalk podcast. We haven't published it yet, but I did record a new podcast. We talk about this. We talk about Artemis and Blue Origin and ULA and weather constraints, actually, ironically. This was not a weather constraint, but it is a scrub. So be sure you guys are tuned in. Get out your phones right now and look up Spacewalk podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube. It is its own dedicated YouTube channel, Spacewalk Podcast. You can find it wherever you want. They're really fun. They're just very casual. I'm just chit-chatting about stuff. So if you kind of want to hear more and get your questions answered as well, very, very casual format. So be sure you guys are finding that. Okay, yeah, officially scrubbed. Okay. That's as scrubbed as it gets. Let's see, here you go, Spacewalk Podcast. Get in here, guys, if you haven't yet found it on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever. Totally free podcast, of course. Just enjoy it. I'm making it for you guys because people keep asking, we want more content from you. But as you know, videos take me a long time, and people are like, we wish you just had something kind of in between. I try to do these live streams, as often as it's a cool rocket launch. But this is my way of, sometimes I'm not able to live stream. Sometimes, very often, I'm traveling. So these Spacewalk podcasts are literally like the other one was recorded in the O'Hare Airport. This one was recorded on a walk today. The idea is just kind of whenever I can fit him in, we'll just do a casual chit-chatting about rockets, as if we're hanging out, walking, and talking about rockets. So very casual, very fun. Not very I don't do research for it. It's just sort of topical. I might do a little research every now and then if there's a really cool question, but trying to save that for the videos and stuff. But yeah, so it's officially a scrubbed. I'm gonna see if there's any other. We did have some super chats and stuff that I'll get to answer here quick before I probably just call it a day and get back to work. I'm actually working on a 30-minute keynote speech for the Texas Eclipse Fest that I'll be taking a part of. But we're the official live stream for Eclipse-O-Rama, which is Planetary Society with Bill Nye and Mark Rober and a handful of other Planetary Society guests. We are the host for that. We're the co-host. We're the live stream for that, so we're putting a lot of work into that. So we're also doing some of that stuff. Meanwhile, I'm also trying to edit a video. There's 5 things going on at once right now. Very, very, very busy. The whole team is running around like mad. This is just one of those busy times. So, yeah. So, people were asking. Okay, so JW, what is the launch day discount code? You nailed it. It's just launch day. All lowercase, all one word. Launch day. We'll have the same thing up tomorrow. I'll probably wear the same shirt for tomorrow, just so if you wanted to get a pointy end up, flaming end down shirt. The new Rocket Orientation Specialist shirt, you can get in there and get your own. But yeah, everydayastronaut.com/shop. Use coupon code LaunchDay. That'll get you in there. Let's see here. Well, thank you so much to Brandon House. Always try to catch your live streams. Always good content and gets me super hyped for the future of space travel. And this is just, today is a little bit sad. I am genuinely sad to see this beautiful rocket going. But it is the end of an era. I think we're seeing a new generation of spaceflight vehicles. They're all exciting and they're all kicking butt. So it's going to be fantastic. And thank you so much for your support. Labradoran, do you know if people can see the launch in Mayport? I don't even know where Mayport is. Let me look up Mayport. Give me 1 second here. I'll try to pull this up. And we can also use Mayport. I'm guessing that's Florida. Mayport, Florida. All right, we can use this as well as a graphic from ULA to get a sense. The main thing I think today, you're up near Jacksonville, okay. Yeah, you would be able to see it, assuming the weather is clear enough. And since it's not a night launch, it's going to be a lot harder with the Delta IV Heavy. Although it's big and orange, at least it's got that going for it. But one of the things that you can do is ULA has a handy dandy. Let me just pull this up. They have a very handy little thing that shows you about when you could see these launches. So let me just find this. Here we go. So let's take a look at this. So you'd be able to see, you're up there, you're about 2 minutes after liftoff. You would be able to see it if you knew exactly where you're looking for, which, it's going to be basically heading straight east, due east out of Cape Canaveral. So you'd be, looking. You'd have to know where to look in the sky. You might be able to catch it if it's a clear day for you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Philip Moyer, for becoming a member. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget members and, of course, Patreon subscribers and X subscribers, all those things. We do look for questions for the podcast. We pull both from wherever you guys have a hashtag Spacewalk podcast you can use, and we'll find it if it's a good question. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to make episodes kind of follow a topic-ish, kind of staying in one realm of things. So maybe this one's, the first one was about Starship. It was right after Flight 3. I talked all about Flight 3 for 25 minutes or whatever. This one's more about kind of ULA and the relationship with Blue Origin and kind of the Artemis program. It's not as clean of a subject matter. So if you guys have questions, just use hashtag Spacewalk Podcast, and otherwise also Philip Moyer and also Patrick Walzer, who's a member already. Be sure and look for those posts where we do solicit some questions. I agree, Patrick. I absolutely love those old school go no go polls. Sadly, we didn't see the candle lit today. Yeah. Okay, so this is a question from Jacob. Very good question. Can you find it on Google Podcasts? Google Podcasts is no longer a thing in 3 days. So we tried submitting to Google Podcasts, but unfortunately they're just done. Google Podcasts is no longer even accepting new podcasts, I don't think. So we did all the submissions for it. You're going to have to find a different podcast reader, I'm afraid, since Google is going away. It's so funny. It's crazy that I got that question a lot. Why can't I find it on Google Podcasts? It seems like it's a very popular way to listen to podcasts. I'm shocked they're getting rid of it. Like, what's it hurt to them? But yeah, we tried submitting, and it basically was like, it's not showing up. We did all the submission, and it did say, like, these services are, terminating April 2nd or whatever it is. So, yeah. So I think it, unfortunately, just going to have to find a new podcast app. I think there is what is the one for YouTube? Because you can listen to YouTube videos as a podcast, and we are doing that. Yeah. Oh, Mary Liz rechanged it to scrub. Good job. I was going to say we should make it scrubbed. So Forge Gamer, do we plan to make a 1/100 scale Delta? Honestly, someday I want to have every rocket. We're going to have to pick up our pace by about tenfold if we want to have every rocket. But I want to have the main, I really want to get, things like the Soyuz and Proton and Delta 4 Heavy, Atlas 5, Vulcan, the Space Shuttle, Buran, Ariane 5, all the main rockets throughout history, especially crude ones and any really historic ones. I want to have them all to scale. Obviously Saturn V and Starship someday once it stops evolving every 3 seconds. But to see them all to scale is going to be so fun to me. That's the ultimate goal, is to see them all to scale. So, yeah. Yeah. 1/10 scale Electron. Yeah, that'd be this big. That is funny. That'd be awesome. All right, everyone, I'm just going to get out of here because we're going to be doing this all again tomorrow. So stay tuned for tomorrow. I hope you come back again tomorrow. And again, if you miss me, we will have a podcast out. I don't know if it's releasing today or tomorrow. But yeah, Spacewalk Podcast. Please find it. Enjoy it. You're always asking for more, which is a big compliment. Obviously, I take that as it's endearing. So thank you. And those are really fun, too. I enjoy just the super casual nature of it. Very minimal effort as far as I don't even have to prepare a live stream. I just hit record and start walking. So I like it. It's nice to supplement in between other things. So get on it. Get your butts over there. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. And we're going to be rolling the scrub music. It is a different outro when we scrub. This one is Translunar Coast. So here we go. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.